with the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. Now, having used it for a couple of weeks, there's a lot to like about it, but there's also been some controversy. So let's address the display initially. The display, amazing, and it has introduced a brand new feature called privacy display, which we were talking about in the rumors. And in practice, I gotta say, I am personally impressed, right? What it does is it switches off the wider pixels, only allows the narrow pixels, but because it's on the pixel level, you can customize it. You can have it on just for particular apps, you can just have it for notifications, and in my experience, it works really well. Having said that, there have been kind of 2 points that people have been saying. Firstly, that it lowers the resolution, and secondly, that it lowers the brightness, which I kind of was expecting. Now, my personal view on that, and you can agree with me or disagree with me, is that I personally, the way I use it is notifications, maybe my banking apps and things like that. I don't really care if my banking app is in high resolution, you know what I mean? There's only so many zeros that I can see in high resolution. I'm joking, right? Yeah. It's like, it's not really going to make a difference to me, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm recording video, that's when I really want to, see, then does it lower it to the point where I'm like, oh, this is not good? No, I think it's fine. My personal usage is only particular apps that I have it switched on for, and those apps, I don't necessarily need the highest resolution or the highest brightness. So if it does lower it slightly, I'm okay with it. What about you?
I mean, it makes sense. Have people seen the screens whenever they put the screens on for privacy?
Screen protectors.
Yeah, it does the same thing. It does exactly the same thing. It's some of them are worse. Some of them are super fuzzy, like it looks like it's very fuzzy. While this one, yes, it looks like it's dropped the resolution and also it's limiting as much as possible. And that's why, Samsung has the customization for certain applications, certain areas. Um, and again, you don't have to use it.
Yeah, you can switch it off. And the only thing I would say, and this is something that I got a lot of stick for in my comparison versus the S25 Ultra, is that the Gorilla Armor is not as anti-reflective as it is on the S25 Ultra, okay? Now, in my initial look at it, I was like, yeah, it looks quite similar. But then when you do look at it kind of in detail, I would say that the S25 Ultra is a little bit more anti-reflective. So that's something that you are losing slightly. But then again, because of how cool this feature is, I'm okay with that.
I agree. I mean, seriously.
Okay, another controversy with the S26 Ultra is the fact that we were all told in our briefings, this is across the board, that the S26 Ultra now has a 10-bit display. Apparently, this is not true. And this was a major miscommunication because after studying the display, lots of experts have said, actually, no, this is an 8-bit display with FRC, which is frame rate control, right? Now, to put it quite simply, it's 8-bit that simulates 10-bit and makes it better than an 8-bit display, but it's not a true 10-bit display, okay? However, that miscommunication meant that everybody, all of us guys, we took Samsung's word for it that, hey, it's a 10-bit display, but it wasn't. So does it matter that much? Probably not. I still think it's an excellent display, and 8-bit with FRC is better than 8-bit, but that should have been communicated.
No, I agree on the communication part. Um, it just helps for your marketing. There's no need to do any kind of falsehoods or like, slight, I don't know, you say, misstatements is what politicians like to say, right? Misstatements to to the cause. In terms of
Yeah.
like real world, for 99.99% of users and reviewers, I'm gonna put that caveat there. It don't matter.
Yeah,
It's just that
it
simple.
doesn't matter, but I would say that should have been communicated better. So that's something that Samsung should learn from the mistake. That look, it's fine. If you had just said that it's simulating 10-bit, then that would have been fine. But claiming that it's 10-bit when it's not actually 10-bit is going to have some backlash. And a lot of the techies who were kind of disappointed with that have kind of like, I've had a few people have canceled their pre-orders and stuff, which is fair enough because they were sold something that they, are not going to be getting. But that's something I think Samsung definitely can learn from. So I would say display overall, amazing. I think this is a very cool feature. It's not a gimmick, in my opinion. I think it's something that really does change the way you can use your device. And because of that customization, there are times when you need to do certain things that are private when you're in a public setting, right? And somebody that's kind of sitting over you, you don't really want them to kind of see what password you're entering, or, again, things, the banking apps is the perfect example, or messages as well, right? You don't really want people to be able to see that. And this is a perfect way to kind of limit that from people around you. And it is easy to switch on and off. You can, assign a shortcut to it with the side button as well if you want. And that way it's going to be easier for you to activate it fully and disactivate it, or just have it on for particular apps. That's really cool. Let's talk about the design now. Okay. So it is an incremental update. And I don't know about you, E, but there's been times, because I have the same case on my S25 Ultra, on my S26 Ultra, it's the Spigen Neo 1. I picked up the S25 Ultra thinking it's the S26 Ultra and vice versa, right? Because it feels very similar. It looks very similar. You've got everything in the same place. Yes, you've got that ambient island around the cameras, which is cool and it looks nice. And you've got those rounded edges, right, which kind of make it more consistent with the other S26 and the S26 Plus, right? So it looks part of the family, but there is that element of it is very similar. Would you agree?
It is very similar. The weight is the one thing that makes me realize that, okay, I'm carrying a different device, and also because I have adopted Samsung's, MagSafe, um, casing, so to speak. So that's the only reason that,
Okay.
like, because as soon as I pick it up, I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's the right one."
And then they've also gone to aluminium from titanium. So that doesn't matter to me, I'll be honest with you, because I use a case, but it goes without saying that, it is a bit of a downgrade, should we say. And you said it's lighter, but it's only 4 grams lighter, right? So it's not significant in terms of the weight reduction. 4 grams, it's a little bit, it's not huge.
It still feels lighter, just saying. Just
Mm,
saying.
The
I
four
mean,
grams.
but I will say this, I was disappointed, I know people are disappointed about MagSafe magnets not being on there. I think
Mm,
Samsung needed to educate people well enough, at least for the Ultra, because I did notice it when I have my MagSafe like carry ring behind it, my S Pen basically falters, and that's because the S Pen creates a magnetic field while you use it to write and charge. So a magnet on there
mm.
basically, causes issues for that S Pen. So they should have stated that clearly for people to understand that, hey, look, the reason we don't have magnets is because of this. This is just clearly the reason here. And then at least a lot of people won't complain about it. I mean, that's again, going back to communication, it's another level of like just letting people know, and it eases a lot of tension, without stating it.
I, I I completely agree, because from what I heard initially was that 99% of people use cases. So that's the reason why we feel that we don't need to put magnets in there. But if you told me the real reason is because of the S Pen, because I like the S Pen, I'd kind of be like, okay, fair enough. That's something that I can accept, right?
Mhm.
So having magnets inside the device would impact the S Pen and would interfere with the S Pen. And if you told me that clearly, then I would be like, you know what, this is a bit better. So once again, Samsung, communication there, right? Okay, let's have a bit more of that.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that we do have to mention, right? When we were covering the leaks and rumors, one of the early leaks was that there's going to be an orange version. There is not an orange version, okay? So we have to kind of take that back. Look, we were basing it on the leaks and rumors at that time, and those leaks were of the orange version. Maybe after we roasted it, Samsung decided, guess what? Let's hold back on the orange version. Let's not do the orange version. That might have been the case. I don't know, right? But what I'm saying is that the orange version, which we saw in the leaks, was not there. So we can take back the roasts that we were giving Samsung earlier on in the leaks and
You
rumors.
know what? Maybe, and I had this conversation with Danny Wingdon. I think maybe we overdid it because I looked at the array of colors. MWC. We also had like a chance to basically
Mm.
do some hands on. I wasn't able to go to unpack, so I looked at all the colors there, and I was like, these colors are a bit too dull. There's nothing that stands out. I mean, I kind of wish
Mm.
that orange was there, or at least they gave me a different color that was just bright. Something else that could stand out because dare I say, the best looking color for me this year is the black. and I usually don't pick it. I
Mm.
usually don't pick it. Thus, me wearing the black shirt today. It's probably why.
Well, there's also the exclusive colors, like the Silver Shadow and I forgot what the other one was. Silver Shadow and Pink Gold,
Yes, pink gold.
right?
Yeah.
If you want to pick those up, there will be some affiliate links down in the description below. They'll give you in the UK double the storage and 5% off using my code. In the US, you no longer get double storage, right? So that's another thing. You no longer get double the storage, but you do get up to $930 of trade-in credit. So if you've got an S25 Ultra, for example, and you're like, you know what, I think I want to go for the S26 Ultra, you can trade that in, you get $930 off, or you can just get up to $180 without a trade-in. So you get Samsung credit, so you can maybe get the Buds 4 Pro or something like that. You can put the credit towards that. So there are those offers there. But let's talk about that because Samsung has traditionally, pretty much always, given double the storage when you pre-order the new Galaxy device, right? Although that is the case in the UK, it's no longer the case in the US. Now, I understand that there is lots of storage crisis and all the rest of it, all these other issues happening right now, but pretty disappointing for a lot of people, and I think that might have impacted the pre-orders. What do you think?
So Samsung says its pre-orders are fine. They went up. They beat last year's numbers according to them. So
Really?
yeah, they said
Very
it's like
interesting.
slightly higher. Like let's call it say pre-orders where I can't remember the exact number, but it was like say 1.5 million last year, and then this year is like 1.6, something like that in that respect.
Okay,
But it beat
fair
last year's
enough.
pre-orders. I think on the other hand, I had like a similar mindset as you. And then this morning, scrolling through TikTok, somebody put up a video of the S26 Ultra, and then available on the TikTok shop. It's available right there. Which
Oh,
I didn't look at the options. I was just like, huh, what? Really? I had to go do something else. But I was like, okay, I did take a screenshot of it, but I'm like, interesting. This is on
mm,
here. Okay, Samsung has moved because I know Samsung has had Samsung devices on the TikTok shop, but like it's usually uh almost like months after, like 5 or 6 months after, something like that. Which you're like, okay, cool, not a problem. But this is literally a week after launch.
interesting.
Yeah. So I
So
was
maybe
like,
that's where the pre-orders are coming from.
I mean, maybe they looked at it and they said, okay, we've got a different opportunity here to capitalize and not give those offerings. Maybe it's slightly less expensive, or like again, I didn't look at the options. I would check.
Interesting. Interesting. I wish we could like access those numbers like publicly so we knew exactly how many units of which device was sold, so then we could see, because it's always interesting to see that. Now, cameras, okay? So cameras generally, okay, the two main updates that we've got with the hardware anyway, the telephoto camera, the 5x telephoto camera and the primary camera both have wider apertures, which makes them better in lower light. I've done lots of testing. You can check out the SuperSaf style camera comparison of the S26 Ultra versus the iPhone 17 Pro Max. And honestly speaking, things were quite similar. I think both devices performed well. The S26 Ultra does do well. It has improved in low light, okay? How much has it improved in low light? I would still give the win to the iPhone 17 Pro Max in low light for the telephoto and the primary cameras. The ultra-wide camera, I mean, as before, the Samsung is better, both in good light and in low light. So I would say overall good cameras, but there's nothing that really blows you away. I think if there's one feature that's had the most coverage would be on the video side of things, the horizontal lock, right? So that's stabilization, kind of fixing the position, which has been on other devices before as well, right? But it's kind of, because Samsung are doing it now, it's gone quite popular. I've seen 100 videos of people on a mirror kind of just tilting their phone 360. I'm sure you have as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's a cool feature, but I guess what I'm trying to say is the cameras are very good, yes, but nothing that really blows you away, like we've seen on some of the competition from Vivo, from Xiaomi, and others.
I mean, yes. I had an opportunity to test the camera against the Xiaomi in Barcelona. I haven't put up my video on it yet. I'll have some short form later on. It competes really well against the Xiaomi, especially what I thought Xiaomi would do. I think Xiaomi just has like especially with portrait, has a better depth of field. because of the larger sensor in there. And also the Leica colors are really nice, like just in general. But I think Samsung, it's really funny that Samsung has more muted colors, very muted colors, which is quite interesting. But it means that you can also do more in terms of editing with that as well, if you want to, off the JPEG, if needed. Um, I would say it still hangs in there pretty well, but I would agree with Danny and I were having this conversation. Is like, Samsung needs to change their sensors. It's about time. It's about time that they move to sensors where we met up with Vivo. Just to interject this here, Vivo showcased quickly their new camera, the new phone, sorry, is launching, that every single lens will have the same sensor size. They didn't mention what it was, but they just said, look, we want to make it seamless so that everything you're recording, taking video, especially with this, because it's heavily video focused. Their claim is that they're going to come out to beat the iPhone with video. That's literally how they're attacking this. So
Nice.
they're really, really invested in it. And they're like, look, we want to make sure that we have the same sensor. So when you're changing lenses and zooming in and zooming out, like all that stuff, like you're getting the same experience and it doesn't look different. And I was like, so Samsung,
Sounds good.
this is something that,
Samsung, the ball's in your court.
yeah, we need to see next year.
What I would say is, what I've always liked about Samsung, and it's something that I also like about Apple, is that they kind of aim for consistency, where they look for an overall package where you're getting excellent cameras across the board, right? So there's not just focused on one camera. It's like video, photos, selfies, everything ticks all the boxes. You've got a nice complete package, and that's what most people want, right? But I do agree that on the Android side, at least, we've got a lot of competition coming in. So maybe, there are rumors that the S27 Ultra will have a new sensor, at least for the primary camera. And that's something that I definitely would like to see. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the performance. So this is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy, which is a terrible name, but regardless, that's what we have. What has been your experience in terms of the performance compared to other devices?
I mean, it's a beast. It's the best processor in the land. It's been the best processor in the land since it launched in October. And performance wise, benchmarks, it beats everything out there. Gaming wise, like Android gaming is, it is what it is. But it's in a level where when we get to the MacBook Neo, which uses a mobile processor, I'm also thinking the same thing with this chipset, is like, what else can it power? Because it's just overpowered for just the phone, for what you can do on the phone, really, in the sense. So performance is good, but temperatures are actually really good. The new vapor chamber does a really good job at dropping temps. I believe I hit maximum 105 um, while playing all the Android games I played. The only thing that will increase those temperatures are emulations, and those things are because basically it's like you overclocked your system just to run anything. So it doesn't matter. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the cooling itself there, but it's good. It's really good.
Okay. All right. I mean, performance for me, although I'm not a gamer, has been excellent, and as expected, 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy. So you've got no issues with performance. And also the fact that Samsung has promised 7 generations of Android OS updates. So this should last you a while as well. So we've got One UI 8.5 on Android 16. And, the software itself, I really like. I think One UI is one of my favorite skins on Android. Works really well. And then we have Galaxy AI, right? Now, there's been a lot of stick with Galaxy AI, and a lot of people's calling it AI junk, or whatever the terminology is, right? They're saying all of these AI features. Now, I'm going to kind of defend Samsung here, because the way I see it is Samsung's thrown lots of AI features on the device, and it's up to you which ones you choose to use, okay? There's nobody out there that's going to be using every single one, because there are a lot of features. Some of them, like the interpreter, for instance, is only going to be useful for you maybe once a year when you are in a country where they don't understand your language, right? Okay, so very specific use case. Obviously, you're not going to be using that every day. But, one feature that I've absolutely loved is the audio eraser feature. Okay, because before you had it on videos that you recorded, but now you can go onto YouTube, Netflix, And there are so many situations where you're trying to listen to something and somebody's got some really loud background music on, or there's some noise in the background. You can just go in and you can just live literally on there. And it also works on live streams, which is crazy. So if somebody's doing a YouTube live stream, you can actually go in and be like, okay, I hate that background noise. Let me just go and remove it. Like, these are certain AI features which are very, very useful. Now, photo assist, for example, right? Removing people from the background, things like that. It's going to do that better. It's going to reduce the resolution slightly as well, which is obviously not great. Yes, some of the things I understand where it's like, oh, it's fun. Let me, change the color of my jacket or do something fun like that. You're not going to use those all the time, right? But they're there if you want to use them. You don't have to use all of them, but there are a lot of AI features and you've got a full package of AI features which you can use if you'd like to.
Oh, I agree. I think to me, I've liked almost all of them. Even, like the AI photo assist where especially the ones with, sorry, what's it called again? Where you can chat and just describe the scene and what you want to do. I took a photo of it was supposed to be like our listening room where we could listen to music. It's my son's playroom, pretty much. And so
It's taken
I
over.
took a picture of like a corner with all his toys, and I said, you know, show turn this into a gaming room, and he turned it into a full gaming setup. And what I liked about it was not the fact that it turned into a gaming setup and I could share, but it allowed me to look at the room and go, oh, what can I do with this room, right? If I wanted to change
Mm.
it to something else, right? If I'm one of those people who I need like visual cues, it's a great
Yeah.
tool. It's a great tool to be like, got it. Okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. I don't need to move things around. I can just put that here and put this here. So those things work. And the good thing about it is that the tools are not forced on you. They're present within the application or the arena you need to use it. So you could use your phone
Mm.
without using any of the tools, or you could use them whenever you want to, which again is how it's supposed to be.
And I think that's what the key thing is, that there's a lot there and people just kind of get overwhelmed and they're like, oh, there's all these useless AI features. And it's like, you know what? A lot of them might be useless to you. That's fine. Just pick the ones you like. You know what I mean? Just use the ones you like. Obviously, we've got Gemini as well, which is super useful to have. Now, there was the introduction of Perplexity, which hasn't really been working. There's not been any instance where I've actually used Perplexity within the device. That's something that I'm going to be kind of covering in my longer term review. Have you come across Perplexity and used it in any of your day to day?
No, I haven't. I think that's probably the more difficult part is how they do the overall integration with all these different AI agents, because with Gemini, it's really straightforward. It's, Gemini takes over everything that you're not doing on device. So when you ask it
Sure.
for weather somewhere or anything else, it goes straight to Gemini. If you're looking for stuff on the device, it's basically Bixby picks up. So I don't know where that integration is. I think it's just a partnership that they signed up that they haven't fully figured out. And to be fair, I don't know
Yeah.
anyone who uses Perplexity that much. Claude is the new thing, right now, that not new, but
Hmm.
it's the it thing, sorry, that people use. So it just all
Yeah.
depends on how these things flesh out down the line.
Well, regardless, even without Perplexity, I think it's a solid AI package that you've got on there with some very useful features. A lot of features which are better than a lot of the competition as well. Now, one area which, I think definitely could have been improved is with the battery, right? So 5,000 milliamps, the battery life is good, right? Slightly better than the S25 Ultra, I would say. But once you've kind of been used to the likes of the OnePlus 15 and others, it just makes you think that, you know what, it's just not at the same level as those that are using silicon carbon technology, right?
Mhm.
There's some smart asses that was like, oh, I saw this battery test and the OnePlus only did this much better. It's like, yeah, you're basing it on one battery test. Just go away, go away. You're like, it's literally these battery tests, which don't really tell you too much, right? I've always said if you want to see a proper battery test, then wait for Phone Buff's battery tests. I think they're the most accurate and most fair, which give you a good idea of how good the battery life is. For me, the battery life, as with the S25 Ultra, it's been good. I can get it through the day, but it's not amazing, and it really does fall behind the competition who are using silicon carbon technology.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. I think this is the one area that Samsung has to eventually make that move. And I get it from them, that it's a very big move compared to their competitors, because they will
Hmm.
not move it until they move every single product over. It's not just like the S line. It's going to be, the A series and the M's and everything they can move to that. So I think that's something that sadly will take time, but I would love to see them eventually go to a 7,000 milliamp battery because it's going to keep the same weight and just give you more. Especially with like, I think OnePlus really set the standards for at least us here in the West where it's it's 2 days, straight up 2-day battery life
Amazing.
on a phone. You
No,
know, I could travel to China and come right back and not charge my phone.
that gives you the proper benchmark of good battery life. But this is the thing, I think, in particular with us lot, because we do test other devices and we've experienced other devices with amazing battery life, it really makes you miss that. For a regular user, you're probably going to be fine with the battery life. It's just not amazing. We've got faster charging as well, 60 watts of charging, which is, again, not the best, but still pretty good. And with a compatible case, you will get Qi 2.2, so you'll have the MagSafe capabilities. So overall, really good package. I think it's going to be quite popular. It's a contender for one of the best smartphones of the year so far. Pricing, as we mentioned, $1,300 is the starting price, which is the same as what the S25 Ultra started at, but you're not getting some of the offers that you got with the S25 Ultra. So you're not getting the double storage and things like that. But nevertheless, some still relatively good deals. If you are thinking of picking it up, once again, those affiliate links will be down in the description below.
I hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to hear the full podcast episode, then that will be linked down below. And if you want to see more clips like this, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss them.